Hello everyone, welcome back to Relig-ish, where we help you create right fit spiritual practices that are rooted in your history, authentic to who you are today, and creative enough to grow with you. Today on Relig-ish, we're addressing another viewer's question, which is how do I talk to my friends and my family when I'm undergoing a spiritual shift? Now, this can be challenging because, especially if your family is part of a conservative religious background, they're going to have a lot of fear around you expressing any doubts or questions about your faith, especially if your friends and family believe in heaven and hell, like eternal reward and eternal punishment. And if they believe that eternal punishment is linked to aligning oneself with a certain set of beliefs, then of course they're going to be afraid and nervous for you if you start expressing any kind of movement away from that set of beliefs. So the first thing I would advise you is when you're talking with friends and family about your religious or spiritual shift is to realize that whatever they're saying to you, it's really coming out of a place of concern and love, although it may not be being expressed in loving, gentle terms, that their heart is one of protection and concern. The second thing that I'd like to point out is that when you're talking to friends and family who are more conservative than you, especially those who have come out of a fundamentalist or evangelical background, they have a very binary approach to truth. Things are either right or wrong. They're true or they're false. They're black or they're white. It's a sin or it's not. So you, as a Relig-ish person, are probably a little bit more in the postmodern camp. In the postmodernist camp, truth is more fluid. And for instance, if you say it's cold in here, the reality is that you might feel cold, but your mother-in-law who's going through hot flashes might think it's incredibly hot in here. The truth is different. It's true that you are cold, and it's true that she is hot, and it's true that the temperature on the wall is 69.5 degrees. But just because it's true for her that she's hot doesn't it mean it's untrue for you that you are cold. Postmodernists understand this, and we can hold different kinds of truth in the same open and generous palm. Modernists, which include people in the conservative and fundamentalist camps, have a harder time doing that. And so they're going to be less able to sort of find common ground with you and to stand in the middle, in the gray, in the question with you. So it's not going to do you a whole lot of good trying to convince them to come over to your way of thinking, just as it's not going to do them a whole lot of good trying to get you to come over to their way of thinking. Unfortunately, when you grow up in a modernist, fundamentalist, conservative, evangelical type background, your primary language is in debate. Now, why is this? Because, of course, you don't want anybody to go to hell. You want everyone to come into alignment with the white, with the true, with the right, with the not sin. And so you're always debating with people to get them to come over to that side because hopefully because you want what's good for them and you want them to go to heaven and you don't want them to go to hell. If you have stepped away from that kind of understanding, it's going to be hard for you to talk to your family and friends because they're still in that place. One thing that helps is to move away from talking about what you believe, especially in the metaphysical realm. So move away from questions about, like, did Jesus really rise again? Is there a heaven and hell? Who gets into heaven and hell? And instead try to move away from beliefs and into the conversation of values. This is because even when our beliefs different, we often have overlapping values. So I can tell you, for instance, when I went through my spiritual shift, my father was quite concerned for me. And thankfully, we have a really good relationship and we could engage in conversation and dialogue around what I was experiencing and what the faith of my father's was and what the faith of my present is. And one of the things that really helped us is I was able to say, Dad, the teachings of Christ are to take care of the poor, to be loving, to be compassionate, to be forgiving, to extend hospitality. And here are the ways I'm doing that in my life. And I could give him concrete examples. And so I could say to him, The values that you passed on to me from father to daughter, I'm still living out. I may not attach them to the exact same beliefs that you do, but I'm still living out these values, and we still have these in common. So looking for common values like compassion, forgiveness, justice, inclusion, kindness. These are all, the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control. Like, you are probably still practicing those values, even if you're not practicing the religion of your past. So if you can talk to your friends and family about the examples of how both of you are living out those values, that can sometimes provide some comfort. Sometimes you do have to step out of the conversation for a while and disengage. We have family members who are so fundamentally inclined that we've actually had to sit down with them and say, our relationship is important to us. If we continue to talk about politics and religion together, that is going to damage our relationship, and we are asking you to please, stop sending links to our Facebook and to step out of that conversational realm with us. Now, does it mean that we have a super deep relationship with those family members? No, but we have a pleasant relationship with them. We can talk about the kids, we can talk about the weather, we can talk about, recipes and all of sort of the trivia of life. And at least that way we have a connection. Whereas if we continued to engage in religious and political debate, our relationship would be completely damaged. So those are some tips for dealing with friends and family when you're going through spiritual shift. Remember that the reason they're concerned for you is because they want you to go to heaven, and they want what's best for you. So the concern, while difficult at times, comes out of a place of love. Remember that they don't have the same approach to truth and question as you do, and try to be compassionate about that, acknowledging that their understanding is more rigid than yours. Step away from debate and try to move into dialogue. Try to point out what your common values are so you can dance in the overlap. If necessary, set parameters around the topics that you discuss with your friends and loved ones in order to preserve the relationship. And if you need to, you can take a break from the discussion altogether and have a little bit of distance between that family member or that friend until they feel more open and supportive towards you, or until you feel more firmly grounded in your own beliefs and values to re-engage in the conversations with them. So I hope that's helpful for you. That I know it's a big topic, and those are just a few ideas lightly touched on. If you want more information or examples about any one of those, please let me know in the comments, and I'll try to address it in a future episode of Relig-ish. Or if you have other questions about how to live the Relig-ish life, let me know, because I want to be as helpful as possible. So until we meet again, I hope that you will get curious, trust your gut, and whatever you do, live from a place of love. Amen? Amen.